on the evolution of animal and plant life. Darwin's shattering bombshell was the conclusion that all living things, man included, were products of evolution. Man, contrary to the then-held belief, was not generated spontaneously. The initial reaction of the church was violent. But as the scientific facts regarding Earth's true age, evolution, genetics, and other biological and anthropological studies came to light, the church's criticism was muted. It seemed at last that the very words of the Old Testament made the tale of the Old Testament indefensible. For how could a God, who has no corporal body, and who is universally alone, say, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness"? But are we really nothing more than naked apes? Is Ile monkey just an evolutionary arm's length away from us, and the tree shrew just a human, who has yet to lose his tail and stand erect? As we showed at the very beginning of this book, modern scientists have come to question the simple theories. Evolution can explain the general course of events that caused life and life's forms to develop on Earth, from the simplest one-celled creature to man. But evolution cannot account for the appearance of Homo sapiens, which happened virtually overnight in terms of the millions of years evolution requires, and with no evidence of earlier stages that would indicate a gradual change from Homo erectus. The hominid of the genus Homo is a product of evolution. But Homo sapiens is the product of some sudden, revolutionary event. He appeared inexplicably some 300,000 years ago, millions of years too soon. The scholars have no explanation. But we do. The Sumerian and Babylonian texts do. The Old Testament does. Homo sapiens, modern man, was brought about by the ancient gods. The Mesopotamian texts, fortunately, provide a clear statement regarding the time when man was created. The story of the toil and ensuing mutiny of the Anunnaki informs us that for 40 periods they suffered the work, day and night. The long years of their toil are dramatized by repetitious verses. For 10 periods they suffered the toil, for 20 periods they suffered the toil, for 30 periods they suffered the toil, for 40 periods they suffered the toil. The ancient text uses the term to denote period, and most scholars have translated this as year. But the term had the connotation of something that completes itself and then repeats itself. To men on Earth, 1 year equals 1 complete orbit of Earth around the Sun day. As we have already shown, the orbit of the Nephilim's planet equal to Zecharia, or 3,600 Earth years, 40 shars, or 144,000 Earth years. After their landing, the Anunnaki protested, "No more." If the Nephilim first landed on Earth, as we have concluded, some 450,000 years ago, then the creation of man took place some 300,000 years ago. The Nephilim did not create the mammals, or the primates, or the hominids. The Adam of the Bible was not the genus Homo, but the being, who is our ancestor, the first Homo sapiens. It is modern man as we know him that the Nephilim created. The key to understanding this crucial fact lies in the tale of a slumbering Enki, aroused to be informed that the gods had decided to form an Adamu, and that it was his task to find the means. He replied, "The creature whose name you uttered, it exists one," and he added, "Bind upon it on the creature that already exists, the image of the gods." Here, then, is the answer to the puzzle. The Nephilim did not create man out of nothing. Rather, they took an existing creature and manipulated it to bind upon it the image of the gods. Man is the product of evolution, but modern man, Homo sapiens, is the product of the gods. For, sometime circa 300,000 years ago, the Nephilim took ape-man Homo erectus and implanted on him their own image and likeness. Evolution and the Nibiru tales of man's creation are not at all in conflict. Rather, they explain and complement each other. For without the creativity of the Nephilim, modern man would still be millions years away on the evolutionary tree. Let us transport ourselves back in time and try to visualize the circumstances and the events as they unfolded. The great interglacial stage that began about 435,000 years ago, and its warm climate, brought about the proliferation of food and animals. It also speeded up the appearance and spread of an advanced man-like ape, Homo erectus. As the Nephilim looked about then, they saw not only the predominant mammals, but also the primates, among them the man-like apes. Is it not possible that the roaming bands of Homo erectus were lured to come close to observe the fiery objects rising to the sky? Is it not possible that the Nephilim observed, encountered, even captured some of these interesting primates? That the Nephilim and the man-like apes did meet as attested to by several ancient texts. A Sumerian tale dealing with the primordial time states when mankind was created, they knew not the eating of bread, nor not the dressing in garments, ate plants, with their mouth, like sheep, drank water, from a ditch. Such an animal like human being is also described in the Epic of Gilgamesh. That text tells what Hankaju, the one born on the steppes, was like before he became civilized. Shaggy with hair is his whole body, he is endowed with head hair, like a woman. He knows neither people nor land, garbed he is like one of the green fields. With gazelles he feeds on grass, with the wild beasts he jostles at the watering place, with the teeming creatures. In the water his heart delights. Not only does the Akkadian text describe an animal like man, it also describes an encounter with such a being, now a hunter, one who traps, faced him at the watering place. When the hunter saw him, his face became motionless. His heart was disturbed, overclouded his face, for woe had entered his belly. There was more to it and mere fear. After the hunter beheld the savage, this barbarous fellow from the depths of the steppe, for this savage also interfered with the hunter's pursuits, he filled the pits that I had dug, he tore up my traps which I had set, the beasts and creatures of the steppe he has made slip through my hands. We can ask for no better description of an ape-man, hairy, shaggy, a roaming nomad, who knows neither people nor land, garbed in leaves, like one of the green fields, feeding on grass, and living among the animals. Yet he is not without substantial intelligence, for he knows how to tear up the traps, and fill up the pits dug to catch the animals. In other words, he protected his animal friends from being caught by the alien hunters. Many cylinder seals have been found that depict this shaggy ape-man among his animal friends. Then, faced with the need for manpower, resolved to obtain a primitive worker, the Nephilim saw a ready-made solution to domesticate a suitable animal. The animal was available, but Homo erectus posed a problem. On the one hand, he was too intelligent and wild to become simply a docile beast of work. On the other hand, he was not really suited to the task. His physique had to be changed. He had to be able to grasp and use the tools of the Nephilim, walk and bend like them so that he could replace the gods in the fields and in the mines. He had to have better brains, not like those of the gods, but enough to understand speech and commands and the tasks allotted to him. He needed enough cleverness and understanding to be an obedient and useful lamelu, a serf. If, as the ancient evidence and modern science seem to confirm, life on Earth germinated from life on the 12th planet, then evolution on Earth should have proceeded as it had on the 12th planet. Undoubtedly there were mutations, variations, accelerations, and retardations caused by different local conditions, but the same genetic codes, the same chemistry of life found in all living plants and animals on Earth would also have guided the development of life forms on Earth in the same general direction as on the 12th planet. Observing the various forms of life on Earth, the Nephilim and their chief scientist, EA, needed little time to realize what had happened during the celestial collision. Their planet had seeded Earth with its life. Therefore, the being that was available was really akin to the Nephilim, though in a less evolved form. A gradual process of domestication through generations of breeding and selection would not do. What was needed was a quick process, one that would permit mass production of the new workers. So the problem was posed to EA, who saw the answer at once to imprint the image of the gods on the being that already existed. The process that EA recommended in order to achieve a quick evolutionary advancement of Homo erectus was, we believe, genetic manipulation. We now know that the complex biological process, whereby a living organism reproduces itself, creating progeny that resemble their parents, is made possible by the genetic code. All living organisms, a threadworm, a fern-tree, or man, contain in their cells chromosomes, minute rod-like bodies within each cell, that hold the complete hereditary instructions for that particular organism. As the male cell pollen, sperm fertilizes the female cell, the two sets of chromosomes combine and then divide.